Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the regular council meeting of Tuesday, June 11th to order at 9 a.m. I'd like to commence with a land recognition. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Blackfoot, the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. The Chestermere is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. Mr. Vincent, I understand we have a change to the agenda, please.
Mr. Official Administrator, first of all, in terms of updates, I'd just like to share that the Oiler Nation is in mourning this morning after a 4-1 loss to the Panthers, but hold hope, they will come back. Mr. Official Administrator, normally administration would not bring forward changes to the agenda unless it's of an emergent item. We would ask you to consider adding Section 6 to today's agenda, Bylaws, Item 6.1, Bylaw 022-24, Road Closure. This matter had been dealt with previously, and there's a minor adjustment to be made, so we ask your consideration for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. With that, I'll move that the Municipal Administrator approve the June 11th 2024 regular council meeting agenda with the following amendment. Add item 6.1 bylaw 022-24 being the road closure bylaw. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to the approval of the minutes of May 28th, please. Move that the official administrator approve the May 28th, 2024 regular council meeting minutes as presented. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to library funding allocations. Sandy, please.
Good morning, Mr. Official Administrator. My name is Sandy Johal-Watt, Director of Corporate Services. I'm here to present the Chestermere Public Library 2024 funding allocation. Council recommendations. Motion that the official administrator approve the installment of the 2024 grant funding allocation for the Chestermere Public Library in the amount of $100,000. Subject background. The City of Chestermere provides the Chestermere Public Library with an annual funding allocation to support operations. To sustain current levels of service to the community, the Chestermere Public Library has requested an increase in the funding allocation from the 2023 amount of $500,000 to a minimum of $565,000. In Alberta, public library service is municipality-based. Municipal councils and library boards, roles and responsibilities, Government of Alberta 2022. The Alberta Libraries Act and Regulation outline a legislated relationship between the City of Chestermere Council and the City of Chestermere Library Board, Chestermere Public Library. The Council establishes library service, sets appointments to the Municipal Library Board, funds local library service, and participates as a member of the regional library system. The Municipal Library Board then becomes a legal corporation with board members having full management and control of the municipal library. It is the responsibility of the library board to prepare a budget and an estimate of money required during the ensuing fiscal year to operate and manage the municipal library. This becomes an annual funding request for decision to the municipality. Beginning with the dream of a committed group of community members, and since opening in 2007, Chestermere Public Library has evolved from a repository for book collections to become a dynamic public community learning hub, providing community-driven and inclusive library services such as library material circulation and delivery, reference and readers advisory, skill and literacy development, accessible community space, recreational opportunities, office supports, and lastly, community referral and community development. Implications. Due to a difficult economy, there is an increase in residents utilizing library resources and supports. As a result of budget constraints, service cuts are being considered, such as closing on Sundays and further reducing other operating hours. Risk. Reducing hours and service levels due to budget constraints. Related policies, bylaw, and legislation. Alberta Libraries Act. Recommended options. Motion that the official administrator approve the installments of the 2024 grant funding allocation for the Chestermere Public Library in the amount of $100,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. So the additional funding to the library will allow them to continue to provide a status quo level of service, I take it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you very much. With that, could we have the motion, please? Move that the official administrator approve the installment of the 2024 grant funding allocation for the Chestermere Public Library in the amount of $100,000. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to 4.2. Catherine, please.
Good morning, Mr. Official Administrator. My name is Catherine Doherty. I'm the Manager of Infrastructure here at the City of Chestermere. Today I'm bringing forward a council recommendation as I'm here to present the Subdivision and Development Security Requirements Policy. The council recommendation is a motion that council adopt the Security and Development Subdivision and Development Security Requirements Policy 327 as presented, effective immediately. On January 9th, 2024, the Surety Bond Policy 022-01 was rescinded in its entirety. In doing so, the terms around developer categories, security amounts, and reduction conditions were removed from the policy. The policy presented today establishes the requirements that developers place adequate security against subdivision and development projects within the City of Chestermere to ensure that the city standards are achieved prior to the release of the securities. The city routinely enters into agreements in which the developer is required to provide financial securities to ensure that the municipal assets required to service the development are in place to the required standard to meet the needs of the public in the event that the developer is unable to meet their obligation under the agreement. This policy is designed to provide adequate protection for the city, as well as be fair, reasonable, and flexible with the developers. The city regularly reviews its security requirements to ensure that they reflect industry and city initiatives. The policy outlines forms of acceptable security, the required amounts, forfeiting securities, and reduction and release conditions. In addition, Appendix A provides a clear and concise framework for the developer tiers. This policy will formalize the current best practices being utilized by the infrastructure team at the city and provide added transparency for our developer community. In the future, if directed by council, administration will conduct further review and engagement to ensure that this policy is updated to reflect industry and city initiatives. For implications, administration does not see any implications with this policy. In all aspects, it provides transparency, guidance for city staff, and aligns with neighboring municipalities. This policy was also reviewed by external legal counsel. Further to this, administration views this policy as housekeeping and does not see any significant risks with adopting this policy. So our recommendation is that a motion that council adopt the Subdivision and Development Security Requirements Policy 327 as presented, effective immediately.
Thank you, Catherine. Could we have the motion, please? Move that the official administrator adopt policy number 327, subdivision and development security requirements as presented, effective immediately. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Mr. Vincent, please.
Good morning, Mr. Official Administrator. I'm pleased to report, at the request and direction of the official administrator, the administration has prepared a report on the status of the recommendations arising from the George B. Cuff and Associates report on the inspection of the city of Chestermere, August of 2022. Administration has taken the time to review the report and its recommendations, preparing a spreadsheet itemizing and summarizing the 17 recommendations contained in the report, and it's attached to this request for decision. In many of the recommendations in the report were directed to the previous mayor, council, and administration. These recommendations are no longer valid as these people are no longer in office, and therefore the recommendations are considered redundant. A number of the recommendations have been satisfied by the current administration, and a few, as noted, remain outstanding with plans to have these recommendations addressed in the near future. Implications: the administration continues with its effort to respond and address all recommendations from the report and satisfying Directive Number 1 contained in Ministerial Order Number MSD 002/23. Attached is the CUF report, recommendations itemized, and a summary of the recommendations. We would offer for your consideration the recommendation the official administrator accept the administration report on the status and response to the recommendations from the George B. Cuff and Associates report on the inspection of the city of Chestermere for information.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Motion, please. And once again, Mr. Vincent, I'd like to commend yourself and your team for the gold standard of municipal administration that you've been providing since December 4th. You've made more movement on these recommendations from the report and the minister since December 4th that was made in the previous 1 year plus. Thank you. Move that the official administrator accept the administration's report on the status and response to the recommendation from the George B. Cuff and Associates Limited Inspection Report regarding the City of Chestermere as information. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Moving on, Mr. Vincent, please.
Mr. Official Administrator, the official administrator had requested the administration to review the municipal inspection report conducted by Deloitte, Inc., and prepare a summary of the recommendations contained in the report and the actions that have been taken and are planned to be taken to address each of these recommendations. Administration has now completed that review as requested and has prepared a spreadsheet itemizing each of the recommendations and the status of actions taken or planned to be taken. A copy of that spreadsheet is attached to this request for decision. Since the Deloitte Inc. City of Chestermere Municipal Inspection Report was issued, administration has been reviewing and responding to the report recommendations. As evidenced under the heading Action Taken in the spreadsheet, administration has dutifully been addressing the report recommendations, recognizing the need for improvement to attain the gold standard in municipal organizational excellence. The approach to addressing the municipal inspection report recommendations is threefold: immediate and near term, moderate and medium term, and longer term. The spreadsheet summary of action includes the person who will take the lead in addressing the recommendation, the staff assigned to accomplish that task, the actions being taken or have been taken, resources that may be required, and a diary date for completion of that task. Undertaking and completing the recommendations from the Deloitte report will demonstrate a commitment to the residents of the City of Chestermere and the Minister of Municipal Affairs that the city is earnestly addressing the multitude of issues the municipality has faced in the past and is moving forward in creating a solid foundation on the road to the gold standard in municipal organizational excellence. Attached for your review and published as part of the agenda package is the spreadsheet with the recommendations summary. We'd offer for your consideration, Mr. Official Administrator, the following recommendation: that the official administrator accept the administration report on the summary and status of the recommendations from the Deloitte Inc. City of Chestermere Municipal Inspection Report as information.
Motion, please. Move that the official administrator accept the administration's report on the summary and status of the recommendations from Deloitte Inc. City of Chestermere Municipal Inspection Report for information. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to item 4.5, recovery of lost municipal funds.
Mr. Official Administrator, at the May 28, 2024 regular meeting of Council, the official administrator directed administration to have legal counsel prepare and present a report at the June 11, 2024 regular meeting of Council outlining the appropriate legal proceedings and the amounts sought to be recovered against which party or parties these actions and proceedings should be lodged. Administration has retained the legal counsel of Reynolds, Mirth, Richards, Farmer to prepare that particular report for presentation at today's regular meeting of Council. I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Sean Ward, partner with Reynolds, Mirth, Richards and Farmer, who's our municipal counsel, to present that report to you now. Mr. Ward.
Morning, Sean.
Good morning, Mr. Official Administrator. I want to talk briefly about the process that Reynolds Mirth was asked to undertake in reviewing pursuant to that previous motion. We were asked to review the options for potentially recovering funds related to improper expenditures. As part of that task, we have reviewed the Deloitte report. We have also reviewed a large volume of expense reports and data that administration has prepared relating to concerns or potential expenditures of concern arising from that report. The question that we have undertaken is not which expenditures administration may disagree with, or even the question of whether administration's or expenses that were previously incurred were proper in the city's best interests, but specifically to consider whether expenditures were not authorized under the Municipal Government Act. And so in our review, we have reviewed the expenses to consider whether they were, in each case, budgeted for, whether those expenses were permitted or consistent with policies, bylaws, or other approvals of the City of Chestermere. And as a result of that, we've sought to identify where expenditures were unauthorized, what options may be available to the city to recover such expenses. And based on that review, we have provided an opinion to administration that there are expenditures which appear to fall into those categories of being unauthorized, and have outlined what options may be available to the city in terms of commencing legal action to recover certain of those expenses that were unauthorized by the City of Chestermere. And that's the opinion that we have provided to administration in response to your motion, Mr. Official Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Could we have the motion, please? Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Either stop talking or leave the council chambers.
I'll leave the council chambers, but I'm letting you know, this is not going to go unquestioned. Our organization, Progressive,
You're done speaking. Thank you.
It's written, it's pre-written, post-written. You can't do it during the writ. It's against the Elections Act. Okay, that's fine. Don't follow the rules, but I'll be filing a complaint today, and you'll be hearing from my lawyer as well. I'll wait for you after, sir, since you're legal counsel. Yeah. No, guys, follow the laws. Just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you break the rules.
Leave the room now.
This is the writ, sir. It's a little dictator. Yes, you know.
Well, this is breaking the rules by you talking. You're not supposed to talk.
Quiet in the chambers, please.
No, I am all free speech.
Quiet in the chambers, please.
Charge, guys, but this is wrong.
I'll move that the official administrator direct administration to pursue the courses of legal action recommended by the municipal solicitor to recover municipal funds expended without proper authority as identified in the Deloitte Inc. City of Chestermere Municipal Inspection Report, as well as funds subsequently detected by administration from a detailed review of municipal transactions. So moved. All in favor? Carried. The city will pursue all means possible to recover funds. Moving on to 5.1.
Mr. Official Administrator, Alberta Environment and Protected Areas Administrative Penalty. At the February 13th, 2024 administration reported that the City of Chestermere had received an investigator's notice on burning activities conducted by the City of Chestermere without approval from Alberta Environment and Protected Areas. It was indicated that maximum administrative penalty that may be imposed under Section 237 of the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act and Section 2 of the Administrative Penalty Regulation for each contravention is $5,000. Alberta Environment and Protected Areas have now concluded their investigation in the matter. The City of Chestermere received correspondence from Alberta Environment and Protective Areas dated May 31st, 2024, being the preliminary assessment of administrative penalty. Alberta Environment and Protective Areas has levied an administrative penalty in the amount of $4,000 for burning prohibited debris by reasons of an open fire without an approval. On August 9th, 2023, following written direction from former Mayor Jeff Colvin to the fire department conducted the burning. The City of Chestermere is clearly in contravention of the Act, and being culpable for these actions does not plan to appeal the decision, and upon receiving the final decision on the recommended penalty, pay the $4,000 administrative penalty. Attached is the Alberta Environment and Protected Areas correspondence dated May 31st, 2024. Administrative Penalty Assessment Form File Number 41180, Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act, Administrative Regulation, Alberta Regulation 23/2003. I offer for your consideration, Mr. Official Administrator, the following recommendation. The Official Administrator accept the report from administration on the assessment of an administrative penalty in the amount of $4,000 for burning prohibited debris by means of an open fire without approval. This motion is being accepted for information. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Just prior to dealing with that, Mr. Fluker, will you please call the RCMP and make sure that they're present? We will not have legal counsel threatened by members of the public in this building. Thank you. You can laugh if you want. Same would apply to you if you try it. I'll move that the official administrator accept the report from administration on the assessment of an administrative penalty in the amount of $4,000 for burning prohibited debris by means of an open fire without approval for information. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Just another act of careless administration costing the city money that was unnecessary. Let's move on to item 6.1, please.
Good morning, Mr. Official Administrator. My name is Catherine Doherty. I'm the Manager of Infrastructure here at the City of Chestermere. I am making a council recommendation to give first reading to the road closure bylaw 0.022-24 and a secondary motion that council approve the scheduling of a public hearing for bylaw 022-24 for June 25th, 2024. On March 12th, 2024, bylaw 006-24 was adopted with the direction to have the appropriate survey plans prepared for the closure of a portion of road shown on Schedule A. In discussions with land titles since that date, the city was informed that the previously adopted bylaw was missing a reference to the survey plan that will eventually be registered to reflect the portion of road closure. In addition to this, approximately 0.3 hectares of road that was originally proposed to be closed will remain as road. Factors to consider in the initial road closure was that this portion of the road allowance is not being used for a road, and given the improvements being made to Rainbow Road, these lands will not be developed as a road. The Waterford Stage 1 outline plan does not indicate any access or connectivity to the allowance beyond the Waterford Boulevard. And the city requires an area for the McKay property on the east side to accommodate a future widening along Rainbow Road right-of-way for future bridge improvements. And these lands are being used as a method of compensation. In order to do so, the subject portion needs to be closed. There are no new implications since the bylaw 006-24 closure. And under risks, the administration views this bylaw as an administrative change to satisfy the requirements of Alberta land titles and does not see any significant risks. With that, I bring forth the motion that council give first reading to the road closure bylaw 022-24 and a motion that council approve the scheduling of the public hearing of bylaw 022-24 for June 25th, 2024.
Thank you. Can we have the motion, please? Move that the official administrator give first reading to road closure bylaw number 022-24. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Move that the official administrator approve the scheduling of a public hearing for bylaw 022-24 for June 25th, 2024. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll have a motion to adjourn, please. Move that the official administrator adjourn at 9:27 a.m. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody.